I'm sorry. Let's just, can I, okay. Actually, damn, these are so similar. Sorry, today we're going to be pitting two very expensive and state-of-the-art LLMs in a head-to-head battle of wits, and style competition. So with that, we are having Gemini 3 Pro DeepThink here on the right and ChatGPT 5.1 Pro on the left. Both of these are locked behind, well, the ChatGPT one is the $200 a month Pro subscription, and the DeepThink access capability only comes from the Ultra subscription for Google, which comes in at $250 a month. But if you have a new account and you sign up, I think it's like $125 a month for 3 months. Regardless, it is still rather expensive. So we're going to put these head to head. Now, there are obviously rumors floating around that there may be a new GPT version coming out sometime in the near future. And I was like, oh, well, I don't want to do this in case this is an old model I'm testing it against. I looked back and ChatGPT 5.1 came out less than a month ago. So these are still very recent. And obviously Gemini 3 Pro and DeepThink was even sooner. Now, you may notice that I am sitting a little higher than normal, just in terms of how things look. To that, I will say that for my large humans who are watching, thank you, and also don't use plastic furniture. So with that out of the way, we can now go ahead and just jump right into our testing, which should be kind of fun. Obviously, for nostalgic purposes and because I like reviewing the results, we're going to start off with the browser operating system test. And I would like to note, in terms of pertinent information, ChatGPT 5.1 Pro is selected here as shown in the drop-down menu. It is easier to kind of tell if that is enabled. On the other hand, Gemini 3 Pro, to enable DeepThink, you have to ensure that you have thinking set right here, as it is set to 3 Pro. And then beyond that, you go into this little icon right here and you enable DeepThink. And when that little smart brain thing kind of appears there, you are then using DeepThink. Now, you're going to be like, Bijan, why are you doing such a simple test with these two beefy models? And I agree. So, test within test alert. No, I'm like, I am serious because, yeah, we're doing the browser OS test, but we're also making them include one specific thing, which is going to be skate.exe, a 3D skateboarding simulation game that must be contained and kind of masked as an application from within this browser OS that the user can then go and actually play from within the browser OS. So this could turn perhaps interesting. I did just start ChatGPT 5.1 Pro first and foremost. Now, I truly have never ever seen this pop up that just showed up right here in using Pro mode. Oh, okay, well, that's embarrassing. Okay, so that only appeared because I had the browser window to a size that was too small to show it in the right-hand side. I do apologize for my lack of competence in that regard. Now, before we even look at these, interestingly enough, the GPT script was around 1,200 lines of code, while the Gemini DeepThink one was only a little over 500, so that will be something interesting to keep in mind when we're actually judging these results. I suppose first and foremost, let's take a peek at our DeepThink result. Okay, and we did get a Windows 95 aesthetic, of course, and this is something we've seen kind of similarly recently if you've watched my testing videos on Gemini 3, so thank you. And let's take a peek at skate.exe. I will check this. That is the correct time. We do have a start button, which sadly doesn't do anything, but okay. Very cool. Okay, WASD, A and D to turn, and then space to jump. It's funny because this skate simulator is a test that I actually tried with Gemini, I think 2.5 Pro DeepThink, and then a GPT model with the Pro mode, and neither of the results actually worked. So just seeing this, and I will say, I don't know if it maybe tried to simplify this to keep in with the retro aesthetic, but I mean, this looks like a block of cheese or SpongeBob skateboarding, but the jumping logic does work. We can jump over the things there. So overall, I would say this is a successful result, but I just love the way this looks, actually having it in the game window in this retro looking operating system. So overall, I'm pleased with this result. There is no full screen, but that's okay. What happens if I try to open multiple instances of them? Okay, good. It doesn't And now our Pro mode result from GPT. Okay, we have a very dark operating system, which is kind of the GPT style for design. I'm not quite sure why. No right click, the clock is correct. There is a start menu, and I'll notice in lieu of what they normally do when just given the browser prompt where they add in a bunch of default apps like the calculator or file explorer and things like that, they just specifically did skate. The skateboard icon here is well done. So, okay, so unfortunately we have an error. I am going to maybe give it an opportunity here to fix this, but instead of allowing Pro to think through, I'm just going to click answer now. This would obviously be a failure in terms of like if we were doing a straight up competition, which I suppose we are in this video. So that's a failure, but because of curiosity for nothing more, I do want to see what the result would have looked like. So the Gemini Pro DeepThink would have taken the W on this one just based on the fact that it did make a functional result. Unfortunately, this result is arguably worse than the first one because it doesn't actually even open anything here. So unfortunately, that's just going to be a fail in this case, and the Windows 95 skate.exe result from Gemini 3 Pro DeepThink did actually take the win here. I like how when swapping to DeepThink, it actually changes this to ask a complex question. So that's, this next test is something that truthfully, I don't know how I'm going to be able to accurately judge the results, but this is something that apparently is supposed to really be difficult and test a lot of different capabilities of these models in a way that is visually appealing to both myself and anyone interested in watching this. So let's run through it. Now I have started these results prior to actually reading through the prompt because they'll take so long anyway that I figure we might as well get a jump on actually seeing the results. But to go over the prompt, this is something that is going to be a little more difficult for me to personally judge and understand, but the whole point here is within a single HTML file, create a 2D evolution simulation rendered with a 2.5D isometric visual style. Now we can see mainly here that it will make separate creatures with a simple feed-forward neural network controlling its movement. The inputs are 8 raycast sensors detecting walls, food, and other creatures. The outputs are forward thrust and rotation. The genome is the flattened array of the network weights. In the simulation, the creatures can lose energy over time by moving. Eating food restores their energy. If the energy is greater than a specific threshold, they can reproduce. If the energy equals 0, they pass away, and the food will respawn randomly when eaten. This is almost like an AI snake game. I don't know. But visual style 2.5D isometric, which is likely easier to parse and understand than the rest of this right here. And then in the UI, which should all be visible simultaneously, we want a main isometric canvas showing the simulation. The side panel should show the neural network of the current fittest creature with weights as line thickness and color, live graphs, population count and average fitness over time, and a generation counter. Use only vanilla JS and Canvas, no external libraries. So in 33 minutes and 26 seconds, we received our result as well from the ChatGPT 5.1 Pro model. Now I am rather excited to go ahead and take a peek at these, although I'm not 100% sure what exactly to expect. All right, let's take a look at our Gemini evolution result. Good Lord. Okay, so here we have the creatures walking around. I do also see some food. Interesting, it seems the ones that cannot survive get shorter and then they actually disappear. So far, I don't believe we've seen one that has actually respawned or anything like that. So, okay, so we're seeing, again, this is, I like doing like browser operating system results. This is significantly more difficult to handle, but hypothetically, as this generation goes on, some of their children should technically learn the behaviors that prevented death, and then they should evolve to be a little smarter over time. It does seem right here that so basically, this is quite curious. So our population is now becoming far, far too large to the point where I almost have to wonder if we should have implemented something that if the population gets too large, the amount of food, again, and here we have the fittest network. So the outputs are thrust and rotate, which basically means the output of this network tells them to move and in what direction and at what speed, things of that sort. It's cool. It's very cool. It's, I'm going to close this because I'm worried my computer is going to freeze and then it would perhaps, ruin the video recording of this video. So let's try the GPT result now. That was really cool. Let's try the GPT result now. Damn, these are so similar. Sorry, I like this stuff. I get excited by it. Okay, so we have the fittest brain right here. We do have population statistics and things like this. We have the average fitness over time. We have our population is currently at 120. It does seem capped. So each of these are our little tiny, like kind of brains or whatever, little animals we have, and they're each searching around and trying to find food. And we can see them grow larger as they get fed more. So basically when they reach that energy threshold, they will asexually reproduce, just like this, or as the prompt said. Again, this is probably something that it's going to be harder to kind of judging a browser operating system is a bit simpler, but I will say the animations and stuff here are pretty cool. I think I would have to give the actual visual quality of the animation here to ChatGPT. In terms of the statistics and metrics and things like that, I think Gemini probably looked better, meaning everything we see on the right-hand side pane right here. Okay, we have our death count. We have the number of births we have. And you'll notice maybe the ones that, it might be hard to see, but if you happen to find one to track visually, the ones that get shorter and shorter and then kind of disappear are the ones that would account for deaths there because they failed to find food. And the food spawns randomly, obviously. Okay, so overall, again, I don't really know how to quantify this result. I think it was really cool to see. It's kind of, I don't know, I think the live history and I kind of liked the simulation stats here in the Gemini one. It did almost maybe seem like this one was a bit more randomized and realistic. Although, I don't know, I think there's too much food spawning, so it's almost like, I don't know how to judge this result, to be honest with you. It was pretty cool. Anyone interested in kind of understanding and talking about this stuff will probably not need me to try to explain like what's going on here. But this one was very funny where the graph and things like that. So, okay, these both did a really nice job. Now for the next test, I honestly need like a simplified cooldown after the previous one. We're just going to do a browser-based operating system test. They are fun and nostalgic and they're fun to judge the results. I did add in, but use as much polish, feature, and presentation as possible. Now, while this goes and runs, something interesting that I would like to make specific note of is in the previous test, when we saw Gemini continuously blowing up in terms of the population of these specific little creatures we had, it did not implement a cooldown period for their reproduction, which is why it just became so full that basically like everything slowed down and froze. The ChatGPT 5.1 result did actually implement a cooldown timer in terms of reproduction as well, which is why it did not just balloon up in population. So that is something interesting to make note of and does show a little more kind of clarity to the ChatGPT result. It seems like it's tough to judge those results, but that was just something good to note that GPT did. All right, so we just got a 36-minute thinking time for our browser-based operating system result. This should hopefully be something that completely wows us. 5,263 lines of code. Okay. All right. That's more justifying the, wow, is that can't, yeah, okay, that is right. Wow. Okay, I'm going to save the deep think one. I'm sorry that I'm like lost for words seeing that figure. I was not expecting that. Let's see how many the deep think one was. 574. Okay, so we have keep in mind when judging these results that the GPT browser operating system was 10 times longer than I'm going to look at the deep think one first because Nebula OS. Ooh. All right, that's not bad. What a beautiful photo. That is very Nebula-like in my opinion. All right, is there a right click? There is. Next wallpaper. Okay. Oh, wow. Very urban. No, I don't know. This is my favorite test. I enjoy it. I'm wondering if it's just cycling through like, oh, okay. Regardless. VS Code. I didn't even notice that. Oh, no. Oh. All right. That's cool. Sadly, I can't actually type in it or anything, but I like that. All right. Let's minimize. Does that? Okay, we seem to be having some errors with actual like button presses. 54 times 9, 486. Very good. All right, that did work. But I can't close out of anything once I've opened it. That's all right. Let's check our start menu. And it's just the same applications that we have here. We have a local account for guest. Let's check our notepad. All right, so we can't type in those. Sadly, we can't type in our VS Code application. Terminal. That is nice. This is a good looking operating system in 574 lines of code, I should add. And finally, a browser. Oh, wow. I think this is the first time that I have ever, and it won't let us, seen this result actually. No, I've seen them go to Wikipedia before. Okay, sorry, I'm lingering on too much. I really do like this test. Full screen did work. Very beautiful. And then I think finally is the power button right here, Nebula OS. Okay, so that inevitably just refreshed it. That was a solid result. I'm quite pleased with this result. All right, let's check out our 5,000 plus line of code GPT browser operating system. They both named it the same thing? Okay, so we have both Nebula OS. Here's our GPT result. Let's take a moment. Let's try right click. No right click in that many lines of code. That's a detraction from this. Ooh, damn. Okay, hold on though. This is clean. I've not seen typing 24-hour clock just removed the AM. I mean, that would be right technically because it's a little before 5 a.m. I'm not 100% sure. Volume, we have different wallpaper, sunrise, paper, grid, accent colors we can change. And that actually does, okay, this is, how did it not implement a right click when it did all of this? Settings, import, export, refresh. Stores files and settings in local storage. If the OS starts acting weird, try exporting, then resetting. Okay, let's close out of that. Calculator, this is a pretty good result. Okay, 74 times 3, 232, 222. Yes, good, all right. Divided by 8. Oh, and it shows us in real time before we even press equals. Okay, the UI buttons are hidden, meaning like you can't actually see them. All right, let me speed this up, sorry. We've it. Okay, so none of the icons work. What is this? Oh, these are the things we'd previously opened. Oh, the icons are supposed to be there. It's Windows 11 style. All right, we've got our terminal. We do have a lot of commands. All right, it's somewhat working, kind of. Let's try our browser. Internal pages, we have a help page. Nice transparent theme. Oh, it has the horrible auto snap feature, which a lot of things have. That was actually kind of cool there. So if you drag something up, it will automatically snap it. That's like the first thing I do if I do a fresh install of Linux is I disable that feature because it infuriates me. So what have we looked at? Okay, we have about a polished browser-based desktop operating system. Does look pretty good. Right click the desktop for quick action. So that is supposed to work, but for some reason, some of these things are not fully functional. So there are some kind of glitches and things with it here. Drop in audio file here, supported most browser formats. You can also open audio files from files. All right, I couldn't tell if that worked or not, so I've had to switch the output device.
Why the hell are you so angry all the time?
That's pretty good, and that was just a video of two robots fighting, so it did actually put in a media player in here. This was definitely a feature-packed result. I'm going to say the thing that really wowed me the most here was when clicking on the clock, the quick settings things here where you could change the accent color and the wallpaper and things like that was very, very good. Very, very weirdly, they were both named Nebula OS, which I don't quite know what to make of that. We can shut it down now. And it shows us this little lock screen. Very cool. I'm going to start this prompt first, being that it will inevitably take a large bit of time and then we can go over it, but it is essentially tasking these models with creating a complete and self-contained C++ skateboarding game. The idea is kind of simple. Basically, just make a little skate park along with a 3D model of a skateboarder and a skateboard. Allow the user to control it with the keyboard and perform some tricks. There should be some form of scoring system with which the complexity of a trick would kind of iterate the score up depending on how complex the trick was, as I said. If we expand the text right here, we're going to have a 3D skate park, some simple things, the ability to ollie and jump, and tricks performed while airborne. Basically just saying it should compile and run as a single program, and all code should be contained in a single file. So we'll go ahead and see how this goes. All right, so I thought our record was going to be the browser OS, but this was a 38-minute and 45-second thinking result. Sadly, the code didn't compile successfully with the Gemini 3 DeepThink result. I think ultimately I will go ahead and have the non-DeepThink variant of Gemini 3 Pro assess this script as well as the error and then try to fix it, just because I am very interested in seeing the successful result. But regardless of that, we'll now take a peek at the ChatGPT 5.1 Pro result. All right, we did get a successful result, at least in terms of the compilation of the ChatGPT result, so let's play it. Ooh. All right, this is kind of interesting. It is going to take me a second to actually realize how we go about playing this, so let me just make the screen a bit bigger. All right, WS, okay, so it's WASD, space is to ollie, jump is in the air, Q and E is to spin, F is to kick flip, G is to heel flip, grind, land on a rail to pop. All right. Oh, wow. Ooh, this is funky. Okay, so I can ollie. The camera movement is quite weird. Just A and D is turn, but Q and E is to spin only while in the air. This game is quite difficult to play. Okay, so E should let me spin in the air. Okay. This camera movement is so odd. Good thing there's R to reset, because this is, okay, so grind, land on rail, space to pop off. Oh, we snapped. Oh, okay, I've moved. Grind. Nice. Honestly, this is a better result than I anticipated. With some adjustments to the camera wonkiness, this could definitely be something kind of cool. Let's, ooh, I was spinning in the air and the camera. This one is going to be like an ask the audience. How is this? It is, well, I mean, we're getting like combo. Come on, can you, nice. Combos, so we got on the rail there. All right. This is very interesting. I like it, I think. All right, let's have the result now fixed by Google, the non-pro Gemini. So this is the non-DeepThink variant of Gemini 3 Pro that I'm asking to fix the issue that we're getting when trying to compile the Skateboard C++ script. I did do this in the beginning as well for the issue we had when we tried the first browser OS with the skate game, where I gave GPT the opportunity to fix the Pro mode mistake. Unfortunately, that did not turn out successfully, but overall we'll try to see if we can get some result here that we can see. You need a helper function, you noob. Okay, good. Okay, so it does seem like this did properly identify and fix some of the issues that we're getting. I'm going to have it now regenerate the entire updated script so I don't have to type. All right, good. We did get a successful compilation with the fix that Gemini 3 Pro non-DeepThink did for the code generated by DeepThink. So let's just try now to play it. Whoops. I just first look, the color choice here is wow. Okay. All right. The color choice here is perhaps somewhat eccentric. All right, I'm sorry. Let's just, okay. Actually, oh my goodness. All right. Can I jump? I don't think I can get through this result. All right, I'm sorry. Okay. So we can move forward. Is there any, we did get a scored result there. Can we actually, oh, okay. So the camera function in this one is much better. I think the skateboard looks better as well. Let's see, can we climb up here and then ollie? Oh, there's actually, okay, there are instructions on screen. The problem is they're invisible on the gray background. So if I go up this purple ramp once more, Okay, so space is to ollie, J, K, and L are for tricks, and then R is for reset. Okay, so let's I'm trying the kickflip. Check that out. All right, the animations here. Okay, let's ollie and try K now. Pop shove it. Oh, pop shove it. So J, kickflip, heel flip. This is actually. This is not bad. It's hard for me to judge which one was better because this did not work on first try, so that's definitely a detraction from its score. But overall, the actual trick animations here, oh, it did work. The scoring function is working, and it did properly get us on the rail to grind. So oh my god, I could not have. I don't even think I'm going to do like a closing summary of the results. Okay, I will, but just of the one that I thought was really the coolest. This was just a really interesting test that is rather hard to gauge, but visually at least it looks very cool. I mean, if you walked in on someone and they had this on their screen, you'd be like, I'm just going to let them get back to work. So this is, I don't know, I thought this was pretty neat. And then the only kind of curious thing that I do believe we noticed was they both named the browser-based operating system results Nebula OS, which is very curious considering they're kind of like two, I don't know, that's just, something to kind of make note of. It was just an interesting thing to see. Then, of course, first and foremost, the failure result we had was the original Skateboard game that should have been contained within the browser operating system. Unfortunately, that just did not work. It did work for the Gemini DeepThink result, and to be honest with you, when well, two things. One, the color choice here was far more better. And then it was also, I mean, this looks kind of cool if you just see the way it looks contained within this retro window and this retro style operating system. So that was pretty cool. Of course, we had the perplexing skateboard simulation results where DeepThink did not initially work off the bat. It needed the assistance of Gemini 3 Pro to actually go ahead and fix two specific errors in the script. But overall, other than that, it did properly work. I am going to say this like, this and this next to each other is quite a very cool looking thing. I mean, these were all just created in, I don't know if not even one shot, a 0-shot generation for the most powerful state-of-the-art LLMs right here. And this is something a few years ago that would have been like, whoa. And even now, I still find it very interesting, and I think a lot of other folks do as well. So that is going to lead me into the conclusion of this video, which did turn out a bit funnier than one would have expected it to, but I suppose that makes for good videos. So with that, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. And unless it's about the last skateboard result, I'm not going to respond to those comments. Thanks for watching.